markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Asian shares trade mixed on Wednesday, tracking Wall Street's drop after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says stock prices are fairly highly valued. South Korea's Kospi, Singapore's Straits Times, and Australia's ASX are in the red, while the rest edge higher. In currency trading, the Australian dollar strengthens against the greenback. The US dollar is flat versus the Hong Kong dollar, while it gains against other major Asian currencies. In commodities, gold slips while oil rises. In crypto, Bitcoin climbs 0.5%, while Ethereum loses more than 0.5%. Justice Secretary Crispin Remulla confirms that former Public Works officials Henry Alcantara, Bryce Hernandez, and JP Mendoza are now under the government's Witness Protection Program. During a Senate hearing, Hernandez and Mendoza said an estimated 1 billion pesos in cash stuffed in suitcases were delivered to the penthouse of Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico in Taguig. Contractor couple Pacifico and Sara Discaya have also been included in the WPP. Remulla previously said they're not inclined to admit the couple as state witnesses unless they tell the whole truth about the flood control scandal. Over at the lower house, the panel investigating anomalies in flood control projects suspends its inquiry to give way to the proceedings of the Independent Commission for Infrastructure. House Infra Committee Co-Chairman Terry Ridon says Speaker Boji D will go to the ICI today to turn over transcripts, documents, and other pieces of information and evidence related to the flood control hearings. The Public Works Department wants the freezing of air assets worth nearly 5 billion pesos, allegedly owned by Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldico. Among these are a Gulfstream 350 valued at 36 million pesos, 8 helicopters worth 16 million each, and several other luxury jets and choppers. DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon says letters have been sent to the Department of Justice, the Anti-Money Laundering Council, and the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, requesting a freeze order on these aircraft. Zaldico, who previously chaired the House Appropriations Committee, is out of the country and reportedly on medical leave. But House Speaker Boji D already revoked his travel clearance after he was linked to questionable budget insertions and connections with DPWH contractors. Bilyonaryo News Channel was the first to report the existence of the Lawmaker's air assets. Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon reveals the names of 10 regional directors and district engineers who have been served show cause orders to explain their lavish lifestyles and alleged substandard projects. Among them are NCR Regional Director Gerard Opulencia and Region 7 Director Danilo Villa, who were flagged for living beyond their means. Former Region 4B Director Gerald Pacanan, together with several district engineers, were cited for substandard projects. Secretary Dizon says all 10 officials have 5 days to air their side.
Initial pa lang ito, nakikita niyo yung kanilang mga pangalan at yung mga alleged violations nila, no? Iba mararangyang pamumuhay above their means. Yung iba naman ay dahil sa substandard projects na nakita na natin at ng ICI, at yung iba din ay possible alleged tampering of documents sa kanyang mga areas. So, tuloy-tuloy ito. Sabi ko nga, pasensyahan tayo dito, no? Kung akalaan nila ng mga opisyales na hindi ko siseryosohin yung sinasabi ko from the very beginning. I hope this is proof that we are serious, that the President is serious about this. Okay? And we will spare nobody, top to bottom.
Flood control remains a pressing challenge for the Philippines, but one company is showing how innovation can turn risk into resilience. Megaworld is redefining sustainability with its capital town Rainwater Park in Pampanga, a project that blends flood mitigation, environmental protection, and community development. Let's watch this.
Flood control. It's what everybody's talking about right now. And rightfully so, because the Philippines is one of the wettest countries in the world. Right now, we are here in San Fernando, Pampanga. Now, because of its geography and location, it's considered one of the most flood-prone regions in the Philippines. Since we're on the topic of flood control, I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you what developers like Megaworld, developers of townships like this, are doing to help solve this critical problem. Right now, we are here at our township in San Fernando called Capital Town. This is a 35-hectare township that used to be the Pampanga Sugar Development Corporation, or PASUDECO. Before we started developing this area, when it rained, the area around the Capitol building would flood, and the flooding would reach waist high, and it would take up to a week for the flood to subside. It was really a terrible inconvenience for the community around. When we started planning this township, we took that into mind, and we wanted to be a solution to that problem. In the middle of this township is a 2-hectare park, which we call the Rainwater Park. The main feature of this park is the water retention facility that we have surrounding the entire park. So when it rains around the city, the water is actually collected by our box culverts and brought here to this Rainwater Park. When it stops raining and the sun comes out like this, the water is slowly drained into our river systems.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure and the DPWH have flagged anomalies in a 300 million peso flood control project in Pampanga. The project in Arayat was finished in 2023 but collapsed just a year later. Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon blamed possible design flaws and gross negligence. Officials confronted contractor Edgardo Sagum of Ed Marie Construction and Trading, who maintained the project was above board. The Justice Department earlier issued an immigration lookout bulletin against Sagum and dozens of others tied to the flood control scandal. The Court of Appeals orders the release of mining Bilyonaryo Joseph C., chairman of Global Ferronickel Holdings Incorporated. He was apprehended for allegedly misrepresenting himself as a Filipino. The Immigration Bureau said it will coordinate with the Office of the Solicitor General and the DOJ to seek legal remedies for the case. The BI said the mining tycoon is actually a Chinese national named Chen Zhongzhen. We're taking a short break. More stories are coming up. You're watching Business Brief. You're back on Business Brief. Markets view the U.S. Federal Reserve's recent interest rate cut as hawkish, not dovish. Dino Aquino, Vice President and Fixed Income Head at Security Bank, tells BNC's Business 360 this is because only newly confirmed Fed Governor Stephen Miran dissents, preferring a half-point cut instead of the quarter-point reduction.
I think during the FOMC meeting, a lot of investors were hoping for more dissenters. There was only one who dissented and voted for a 50 basis points cut. the new guy, Steven Moran. So they were expecting Waller and Bowman to probably be a little bit of a dovish tilt there, but they weren't. So that's probably the reason why people viewed the recent Fed meeting as a hawkish cut rather than a dovish cut.
Aquino adds uncertainty in the Fed's monetary policy, especially with 2026 approaching, could create short-term volatility in the peso and foreign demand for Philippine bonds.
But I think it's just temporary. It's just a blip in general, given that the market is very, very liquid at this point. In fact, there's added liquidity coming back to the system. BSP Governor Ramelona issued a statement after the last BSP meeting that they will be unwinding some of their issuance of short-term BSP bills.
Yeah.
Currently, there's around 800 billion outstanding BSP bills. They issued 70 billion less this month and likely another same amount probably the next month. So if you just total it, that's about more than 100 billion, 140 billion coming back into the secondary market. So that ample liquidity will keep local bonds very much supported.
Experts raise concerns as a recent study shows political programs are getting more funding while social services face cuts. Paulo Barcelon reports from Quezon City. Go ahead, Paulo.
My economists and political analysts say government needs to prioritize high-impact projects over dole-outs in light of the recent Ateneo School of Government study showing how key programs that can be linked to political patronage have been given additional funding. In its recent position paper, the ASOG, citing budget reports, shows that rules-based programs such as subsidies for the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program or 4-piece suffered cuts, with PhilHealth subsidy even reduced to zero. At the same time, programs that can be directed by politicians such as the AKAP, medical assistance, assistance to individuals in crisis situations, and TUPAD programs got 130 billion pesos total in 2025. RCBC Chief Economist Michael Ricafort says moves like these only reflect the need for a tighter fiscal discipline, especially since the government is operating on a budget deficit.
There should be that kind of flexibility, but otherwise, lalawak na yung budget deficit tsaka yung utang ng Pilipinas, no? Kung mas malaki yung gastusin, no? Sa anumang bagay, lalo na yan, mapa-related sa, yan, yung mga related sa ayuda or mga dole-out or yung mga, kasi importante naman talaga doon, it's an investment approach, kailangan may balik. No, kung maggastusin, mas malaki eventually yung pakinabang sa economy and society natin. Yun yung key takeaway doon, no?
For political analyst Dennis Coronacion, a more national approach is needed for these assistance programs as dole-outs are usually taken advantage of by politicians to suit their interests.
Naging utang na loob sa politiko kasi parang inaako nila yung project na kanila yun. Just by being present, and second, just by during the budget process, talagang they would see to it na a big portion would be diverted to these dole-out schemes.
Both Coronacion and Ricafort say reforms towards pushing for higher impact programs are more important than dole-outs, especially as the country has been open for business since the end of the pandemic. This means the need for more dole-out based solutions to poverty should be reduced. The two analysts also said that the flood control scandal should make the government more prudent in handling its resources and prioritize good governance over temporary aid solutions. Mai.
Thank you for that report, Paulo Barcelon. Ayala Corporation and Thailand CP Extra, operators of Makro and Lotus, sign agreements to bring Makro stores to the Philippines. M&Co Corporation is a partnership between ASX Holdings, a wholly owned subsidiary of Ayala Corp, and Makro Ro, a subsidiary of CP Extra. It combines local expertise with regional retail experience. Makro stores offer a modern shopping experience with a wide range of products at competitive prices for consumers and small businesses. The Transportation Department is offering over 222 million pesos to the Corinthian Gardens. This is compensation for those who will be affected by the Metro Manila subway project, with tunneling set to begin later this year. The offer covers 5 road lots and 1 open area in the subdivision. The Corinthian Gardens Association has set up a meeting with homeowners on September 28 to discuss the matter. The country's first subway system will link northern Metro Manila to the Ninoy Aquino International Airport via a 33-kilometer route with 17 stations. We're taking another breather, a look at how Philippine shares did today when we return. Stay tuned. U.S. President Donald Trump says Ukraine can reclaim all territory seized by Russia with the help of NATO and European allies. This is a major reversal from his earlier position that both Kiev and Moscow would need to cede land to end the war. Trump stressed that Washington will keep supplying weapons to NATO, leaving the alliance to decide how to deploy them. He also criticized Russia for what he called an aimless war, warning that Moscow now faces deepening economic troubles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomes Trump's latest statements on the war. Zelensky has been calling on Washington to step up sanctions against Russia to force it into negotiations to end the conflict.
I said it from the first second of our today's meeting. I will not share all the details.
But from your perspective, is it a game changer that he now believes, that President Trump now believes?
Trump
Trump
is a game changer by himself if he will be sure in Ukraine, and I think that he is more close now to this situation, and that's why, and between us, only Trump can. For today, we know some not too much players in the world who can be game changers, but he's the most closer to this.
In China, nearly 2 million people have been relocated from major cities in the southern part of the country. This as Super Typhoon Ragasa, locally known as Nando, approaches the region. The typhoon brought Hong Kong to a standstill on Wednesday, triggering hundreds of flight cancellations. Before that, it triggered floods in Taiwan, leaving 14 people dead and more than 100 missing. Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air Tuesday night. He lashed out at the Trump administration's efforts to curtail free speech. Kimmel's late night talk show was suspended nearly a week ago for his on-air remarks about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke. He was somehow able to squeeze Colbert out of CBS. Then he turned his sights on me, and now he's openly rooting for NBC to fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and the hundreds of Americans who work for their shows who don't make millions of dollars.
Kimmel praised Kirk's widow for forgiving her husband's killer. He also clarified that he did not want to make light of the murder of a young man.
I don't know if you saw this on Sunday. Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow. Yeah. If you believe in the teachings of Jesus as I do, there it was. That's it. A selfless act of grace, forgiveness from a grieving widow. It touched me deeply. And I hope it touches many.
Philippine shares drop for the third straight session. The PSEI falls nearly 0.2% to 61.08, making it one of the worst performers in Asia. all sectoral indices end lower, with property leading losses at almost 0.4%. Decliners outnumber advancers 103 to 88, while value turnover hits 5.3 billion pesos. The most active stocks are mixed. GT Capital Holdings falls nearly 7%, while Ayala Corporation gains 0.4%. On currencies, the peso trades at 57.42 to the US dollar, weakening from the previous close of 57.30. That's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business. Only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. I'll see you then.